So I'm Michael Hall. I am the Chief Operations Officer for First Priority Medical Transport in the Midlands of South Carolina. Was born and raised in South Carolina, and I'm married. I have two children. Both of my children are grown and actually work in the EMS profession currently. So I think that tidbit of information will tie in when we answer some of these other questions later on in the process. So a little bit more about me and how I came to be in the EMS profession years ago. I had a high school friend whose older brother was studying for paramedic school, and this is back before I had any clue of what I wanted to do. And I was fascinated by his studies, and I'd find myself coming to hang out with him instead of hanging out with my high school friends, just so I could kind of see a little bit more about a world that I knew nothing about. Fast forward, when I finished school, I worked for a manufacturing company for about 5 years, and I sold drill bits. And the job is just as boring as it sounds like it was. I wanted to do something different, and I remembered back to my high school friend's older brother, and I left my drill bit sales job, and I went to EMT school and graduated in 1999 and went to work for a large 911 service in the Midlands of South Carolina. I worked there for 17 years and advanced from EMT to paramedic to field supervisor to training officer and ultimately to deputy chief. And in 2017, I needed some fresh perspective, so I left that job and came to work here at First Priority, and I've been here since 2017. So I represent the large private service ambulances that are part of the EMS Association. I am in my second year of my first term, so been on the board for just a little over a year. Part of why I'm transitioning from a field clinician to administration many years ago is because I was really embarrassed of the reputation that our profession had, and I felt like my job as a clinician, trying to change that perception one patient at a time, just wasn't making enough headway. And so about 15 years ago, I set out on a mission to change the perception of an entire profession. And so my years in leadership with both organizations that I've worked for had a focus on changing the perception of a profession, and it just seems like the natural progression to make a bigger difference and make it faster was to be a part of the association. Gosh, there are so many reasons, but I think a couple of the most important reasons are one, for awareness of what's happening, not just in your organization, but in the state and nation as a whole. Things that you could potentially get out in front of before they happen here, learning from what others are doing. And as the chief of operations here, I can't be a specialist in every aspect of the EMS world, and you have to find peers who specialize in things that complement you. The EMS Association and the networking that takes place as part of the Progress Forward gives us access to tons of specialists in areas that you really don't even know should concern you until you start to speak to folks. So that is the first piece. The unified voice is a significant piece of that. Having a unified voice speaking from one direction about the things that we need to fix, and deciding what priority those things need to be placed in. It's another big piece of it. And then again, changing the perception of a profession. There's certainly tons of opportunity to represent the profession in various manners, which aren't necessarily present in other avenues. Probably my biggest goal for um, my first term is to really make some progress with reimbursement reform. And again, talking about those tidbits of information that not everyone can be an expert in. Our reimbursement rate at the Medicaid level hasn't changed in 15 years. The number that they thought was a sustainable number was set 15 years ago, and nothing that we consume in this world today is anywhere remotely close to the same price it was 15 years ago. So I think reimbursement reform at the state and federal level is one of the highest priorities that we should be focused on currently. The first one is I have a severe arachnophobia. I'm absolutely terrified of spiders. Been that way since I was a little kid, and nothing's changed today. So that's something that not many people know about me. I have a very weak stomach, and that didn't always align well with being a paramedic, but somehow overcome and conquered, and most of the time that was with mentholatum chapstick. So, but I have a very weak stomach. And then something that's a little more positive is I'd like to work with my hands. My hobby is pretty much tinkering and building things, from woodwork to art to home construction to auto mechanics. I'm just a professional tinker when I'm not at work.